Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the one, the only, round number 3 of the TCR Championship, brought to you by RaceFace for the debut season of Iracing. My name is Stephen Koenig, and joining me in the box, like always, and actually shipped all the way from France, is Janneman Press. Janneman, how are you doing this evening?
Evening, Stephen. Was I in France?
Well, I mean, we kind of did a race in France. That's sort of, on the lines of it.
It actually feels so long ago. Well, good evening, everybody. Yes, tonight we are live from Okayama, as I said to Stephen before the stream started. This track kind of reminds me actually of Catalonia in Spain. I don't know, the track map just got that same feel, but obviously a totally different track. It's a lot, I say, smaller, Stephen. It's got a lot tighter corners, especially this last sector. You're going to see hopefully some awesome racing here tonight.
Oh, that's it. And with the championship so close and being in round number 3 does make it a little bit more challenging of this 4-round season, this debut season, this trial for iRacing. And it seems like it's been received rather well. 26 cars entered, but the championship still quite open at the moment as the cars are going around for quali. Take us through who's where and what's happening at the moment in terms of the championship, Janneman.
Oh, absolutely. As you should know, they are utilizing the IMSA scoring system. So leading out the charge, first place, Johan Fourie. He's on a 704 points. Interestingly enough, he has not won a race yet. He's got an average finishing position of second place. So he's on first place. Second place, Tristan de Norbriga. He's on 689. Third place, we got Francois Hubert. He's on 586. Luc Lucchesi, fourth place on 568. Fifth place is Paul Gerber on 560. So, Stephen, that is the top 5. The championship has by no means been decided. We are actually halfway through. 2 races done, 2 races to go. So anything can still happen.
Well, now this is going to be interesting with qualifying because it's all about getting the gap and get going. So you guys at home do have live timing to go and see what's happening, which is absolutely awesome. I know it's quite a handy tool to have, especially if you're involved with the teams. But as we were waiting for the guys to make their way around the circuit, we were looking roughly in practice where the guys were sitting at 158s, 159s as their quickest lap times around 38. The circuit. Well, 38, so do apologize. But that was the general idea of things, of guys moving forward and how can they go through it. Tristan de Norbriga first on the timing board, putting a 140.1 and immediately gets beaten out by Jason Couture of Durant Motorsports. So Tristan's down into second place. Luc Lucchesi into third place at the moment. Actually dropping further down, Tristan de Norbriga going and getting himself into third place. Duncan Murray getting himself into second. So as the times start coming in, there's a couple of things that need to be taken into account here. It is a 30-minute race. So tire wear, that is not too much of a concern for these TCR cars. They can handle 30 minutes. And the guys are going to have to try and figure out what's going to be more beneficial for them, what's going to be the right way of getting across the line. And this is where it gets a little bit more exciting because it's no holds bars to the front for a fight. And with the championship being so close, it's going to be game on for every single one of these drivers. That's for certain.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. As I mentioned earlier on, it is a short championship, not very long, only 4 rounds. So we're halfway tonight. You need to get your head down. Only 2 more races to go. Prove your points in the championship. There's still a lot of points that can be scored in this championship, Stephen. As I said, it's by no means done yet.
And here we go. Time starting to fall. Yuri Umpiswad putting in a 39.092. Byron Mitchell dropping into second place, chasing down his teammate. Now, these two know each other very well because they actually race with each other in the SAE Championship. And it's good to see them back out there. So Durant coming out in full force. Jason Couture moving himself into first place. So he's now trying to get a bit of a jump on the rest of his team. So Yuri Umpiswad stuck in second. Duncan Murray dropping into 4th place at the moment, just with his time of a 39.1. So we're starting to see those 39s creep in. We're expecting that to be midfield pace though. So for everyone that doesn't know, it's 38 roughly for the front. Mid is round about your 39 mark. We will see those 140s a little bit further down through the field, but things will get quicker and quicker as time goes by. This is qualifying, so we're going to have to see how the guys sort themselves out. But so far at the moment, Jason Coetzee putting in that 38.7, and Jan Fourie dropping in with a 38.8. And Jan Fourie, as you said, going and fighting out for the championship, so keep an eye on the little Veloster as it makes its way around. I think it's going to be rather exciting. Okayama is one of these tracks that can either work for you or not work for you. The tighter corners does make it rather challenging. Some of the flowing corners also works better for Elantras versus Velosters. Audis also will battle a bit, so it's good to see a bit of a change for the drivers. They're having to work it out, considering these are all free tracks that you get in your base iRacing. The guys just had to purchase the TCR cars, or if they already had the TCR cars, they get to just come in and have a lot of fun. It's good to see the guys trying them out and getting to get a feel of what will work, and considering going forward after this season with a season 2 coming up in the foreseeable future for iRacing, and probably with the TCR cars as well, it's going to be something exciting to see what the choices are going to change as things move on.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see if the guys stick, in season 2, if season 2 is going to be TCRs as well, if they stick with the same car, if they move maybe to a different car, similar to the guys in ACC. But Steve, you mentioned this is quite an interesting track. It's a nice combination track. It's got that very, very tight last sector after the hairpin. It's definitely a track where passing can be made, especially on the long back straight. That's maybe where we will see cars like the Elantra come into its own, where it can stretch its legs a little bit. But in that last tight section, cars with the better rotation, like for instance the Veloster, might come into their own. So I think it's actually the kind of track that suits more than one car, not just one car in particular.
Well, that's it. Compared to what we saw at Laguna Seca in the last race, I think it's going to be a little bit more shown. But keep an eye out at the front, because there was a bit of fighting words going on here, and the drivers are hoping to make a bit more of an impact here at Okayama. I mean, it's 24 degrees out there, so it is a little bit chilly. Then you've got the likes of, it's a bit cloudy, that's going to come into effect as well. Around this 3.6 kilometer circuit, we're going to see the temperatures starting to come up, the racing line get a little bit better, but I think the guys have to be aware of it. And considering they do have a headwind on the start-finish line and a tailwind on the back straight of 3 kilometers, that's also going to come into play, especially for slipstreaming.
I mean, absolutely. Especially around that back straight, that might suit some of the cars better. I see Yuri Biswart. Currently, he's done a 138.331, very close to his practice time. In practice, he did a 138.049, so he's creeping closer to that time. Time's definitely dropping throughout this session, as the session is almost over. So very close to their practice time, Stephen.
It's definitely getting exciting. Remember, it is a standing start, so for a lot of these drivers, that is a bit of a difficult one, because you've got to get your gearing right. You've got to be able to get on the throttle, and if you can't hold that car back, sometimes if you just pop it into gear and you lightly touch the throttle, you'll move straight out of your box. So you've got to be so careful to ensure that you get the revs right and go into gear at the correct time and get that fantastic launch off a line. These are things that I do feel that challenges drivers more and more as they move on. And I've got to say, personally, I love standing starts. I love it to pieces, because I feel that it does challenge you to get it right. Because if you don't get it right, if you go and mess up on the line, you're either going to be spinning your tires to oblivion, or you're going to be going and sorting yourself out a little bit further down the field as the whole field comes mincing past you, and it does make things a little bit more tricky. At the moment, Yuri Umpuiswat taking first place, Jan Fourie taking second place, Duncan Murray in third place, Jason Coetzee in fourth. Fifth is Luke Lucchesi, William Bertha going and managing to get himself into sixth place, Byron Mitchell in seventh, Francois Joubert getting himself into eighth, Tristan de Norberger in ninth, 10th, Timothy Stanton, followed by Andrew J.S. Thomas, Peter Joubert in 12th, 13th, Robbie Teenings, Paul Gerber, Jean van Rensburg, Werner Swart, Christopher Simmons, they all pushing as hard as they can. Terry Opperman, Herman Lazarus, Arno Kraus, Nico Killerman, Vainan Kursop, Etienne Swart, Devin Dalport, and Richard Herring rounding out the field. But to everyone out there, thank you very much for joining us over at the RaceFace Grandstands on YouTube. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button along with the bell notification for all the amazing action that's coming up for RaceFace as we head into the final week for our championships on ACC, so it's not to be missed. And for you guys out there, a massive, massive thank you. It's good to see you. Terry Opperman actually getting quite a bit of support from Bullet Deer. Hansi Myberg jumping in and saying, nice grid. Hansi, maybe the GT3 is just calling you away. Come to the TCR.
I just want to ask you, do you care to read out Bullet's comments on YouTube?
I know where I stand. I know I can make things really bad. Let me not go into it. But
well, basically, Bullet, he's sharing some love for Terry Opperman. He says, Terry, jy's die man, as jy nie kan nie, sal niemand kan. Basically, you're the man. If you can't, nobody can. So let's see what Terry can do in the race.
Well, it's going to be an exciting one as we take a look. We have got the likes of Yuri Swart, Jan Fourie, Duncan Murray, Jason Coetzee, Luke Lucchesi, William Bertha, Byron Mitchell, Francois Joubert, Tristan de Norberger, Timothy Stanton, followed by Andrew J. Thomas, Peter Joubert, Robbie Teenings, Paul Gerber, Jean van Rensburg, everyone getting ready to have a bit of a fun time as we're going to be launching our way into turn one. Okayama, definitely a difficult circuit. I personally love it in a single-seater, but let's see what the guys are going to do come the race. As we get ready to line up on the line, everyone getting themselves set, and this is where it's going to be exciting. Turn one, I think, is going to be a very challenging run for everyone because it's going to be one of these battles that you've got to try and get right. Otherwise, you're going to be in a world of hurt. And from our blimp cam with Tim the cameraman just taking a shot of these TCR cars lined up, waiting for the lights though. 1 light, 2 light, 3 light, 4 light, 5 laps. Let's go! And away we go. But it does look like Jan Fourie getting an awful start. It does look like Luke Lucchesi and Duncan Murray getting a much, much better start as they dive into turn one. Everyone now has got a bit of a difficult time to go and work their way around as it's side-by-side action here at Okayama. It does look like Duncan Murray going and dropping a little bit back. He has got Jason Coetzee going on a bit of the defensive. Luke Lucchesi moving himself up into fourth place at the moment, locking himself in behind Duncan Murray. Jan Fourie down into fifth place. Byron Mitchell trying to chase him down, but take a look, Fourie going right back after Luke Lucchesi, going up on the inside. That's going to put him around the outside on the next, inside on the next corner. And you can see the likes of Byron Mitchell also lining himself up, going towards the middle. And Francois Joubert also trying to close down that gap, as well as a little bit of outbraking maneuver as Luke Lucchesi goes and tries to get that a little bit further in. Duncan Murray also following suit as they go side by side. Tristan de Norberger making his way through the field, trying to get away from Joubert, who's chasing him down. But these cars are all having a great run, and considering it's a fixed setup series where you cannot change your setup, this does make things a little bit more challenging for the drivers, as there's no real advantage that can be gained at the moment.
Yeah, I think the only thing they can change on the car is the brake bias, so they can play around with that a little bit. But Stephen, 26 cars on this small track, it's going to be an awesome race as they're still jockeying for position. We saw Duncan Murray there Willem Botha, all of them making their way around. I mean, we've got 2, 3 wide going into turn 1. Everybody looking to make their way up the field. I think this is gonna take some time to spread out, if it is going to spread out over the 30 minutes we've got lying ahead.
I don't think it's going to be spreading out anytime soon, because looking at these drivers and how hard they're pushing. I mean, you take a look at Peter Joubert. He's right onto the back of Francois Joubert. He's really trying to push him a little bit forward, trying to edge him on to get away from Timothy Stanton, who's got Paul Herbert trying to go up on the inside. Paul Herbert's trying to make up a bit of time, and it does look like that's William Botha.
1 or 2 cars, yeah.
That is Francois Joubert and William Botha going off into the dirt, and that's just outbraking themselves. Unfortunately, can happen to anyone and drops them way, way down the order, but the guys are really having a fantastic run here.
Yeah, I see a little bit of damage there on Willem Botha's car, so there was definitely a little bit of contact. Oh, somebody turned around in the background.
That looks to be Duncan Murray coming to blows, and that might...
That's a very second-hand looking Honda there of Duncan Murray. Oh, yeah. Another Veloster off in the background.
I think that's Peter Joubert who, he lost it and trying to get himself sorted out, but... Duncan Murray and I think Tristan de Norberger came to blows. And let's actually see if we can go back a little bit to get an idea of what happened as they make their way around. So let's go and take a look from our blimp cam. Duncan Murray put it up the inside, contact onto the rear wheels, turned round, contact, and Joubert just unfortunately becoming part of the incident.
Arriving at the scene of the accident.
There's nothing you can do other than climb on the anchors and just hope that you keep it all together. So guys are coming in for repair work to the cars. But out front is Yuri Swart with Jason Couture constantly pushing him. And Byron Mitchell also trying to close down that gap as well. So the Durant Motorsport team really trying to open up a bit of a run. But you can be sure that they're going to duke it out. Byron Mitchell's got a problem as he's got Jan Ferré in the tow. Now, Ferré wants to maximize the points as much as possible for the championship. So being in 4th place, being in this compromised position, he needs to try and move himself up at least into 2nd place to ensure a lockout for that 1st place. Luc Leclerc trying to close down the gap as well. He's been doing a fantastic job of just trying everything he can to close down the gap. Timothy Stanton, he's opening away from Paul Herbert, who's chasing behind. Francois Joubert has got Werner Swart all over the back of him, and Werner is not giving up at all. He's trying to look for an inside line, couldn't make it stick, and is going to keep on the power, just see what he can do. Things starting to open up a little bit more, Yanneman, but now this is where it gets a little bit challenging in these TCR cars, because now you're starting to manage those heat into the tires, how much wear and tear is going on to it. Couple of drivers. William Botha going and sliding it out.
That's interesting for a TCR car to go out like that.
Unless you clamped on the brakes and
the rear snapped.
And the rear snapped out underneath you. So you went hard onto the brakes, it went and tightened up the front and threw the rear out, and that's thrown him way, way down the field. And that's allowed Terry Opperman to catch up to him. Now, Terry Opperman is in the tow, trying to pull himself along, keeping it nice and neat, but what he can do at the moment is use William Botha to pull himself up through the field and try and close down on the rest. You got Jean van Rensburg, he's a little bit in no man's land. Peter Joubert is in no man's land. Tristan de Norberger, after the incident, he is a little bit further down. Along with Herman Lazarus, he's having a go with Duncan Murray right behind him. So Herman Lazarus trying everything he can to really push it up. And, well, for the cheapercars.co.za car, not doing a bad job. Lying in 25th at the moment, but it's all about consistency that can move you up through the field.
Not at all, but Stephen, you mentioned it earlier on, and I'm keeping an eye on it. Johan Ferré, at this stage, he is in 4th place. He's got a brick wall in front of him. He's got 3 Durant Motorsport cars in front of him. Yuri Swart, Jason Couture, Byron Mitchell. They basically running in formation, Jason Couture and Byron Mitchell. I don't know how Johan Ferré is going to find his way past there to climb that championship ladder.
Well, taking a look, Byron Mitchell's trying to get himself lined up to the inside of Jason Coetzee. So maybe, just maybe, there's no team orders here other than go racing and try and release it. As you can see, Byron Mitchell is working hard. A little bit of a snap oversteer through the corner, but that does allow Johan Ferrari to close down the gap and get right onto the tail of him. So that tells me there's no team orders. He's trying to push a little bit harder. He's trying to force a mistake out of the drivers ahead of him, and that's going to be a very, very interesting situation. I want to also just point out a little bit further down, Doe Herber and Devin Dalport are going hammer and tongs at one another as they fight it out. Devin just keeping ahead of Doe Herber as Doe tries to pull into the toe. A little bit further down, we got Richard Herring versus Nico Killerman. Nico being one of the new drivers that's joined us in the series, and a big welcome to Nico. It's good to see what the guys can do out there. It's really, really fantastic to see how the guys are pushing themselves. William Bertha trying to close down on the back of Nico, but it's going to be a bit challenging. They're starting to run into a few back markers. That's going to change things up a little bit. But taking a look over at the grandstand, the guys are being incredibly supportive of the drivers, hoping that they can see more and more passes, as we see Doug Herbert trying to go on the inside of Devin Dalport and really trying to close down the gap. But we've also got Reginald, who goes and says, listen, you know, this is an amazing field, and asking a very good question. Reginald, this is a car that you have to purchase, the TCR cars. You can get any of them. They're not really expensive. I think they're 200 rand for the car, but all the tracks are completely free. As we jump on board with Jason Coetzee, taking a look at Yuri Swart. So the tracks are free, but the car you do have to purchase. But I promise you, it's one of these cars that you're going to get now, and you're going to use it for the rest of your iRacing career. It will not go away. You'll even use it in a 24-hour.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the cars that you see or get rates the most. But Reginald, gotta love your comments, sir. You can't park there. He was presumably referring to one of the earlier incidents on track.
That's it. Devin Dalport dropping way down the order, lost out 3 positions, and now is in a world of hurt as he's got Nico right behind him. Terry Opperman utilizing the advantage, dives up on the inside, using that toe, pulls himself along and really sends it. But now side by side, Terry Opperman's not going to have an easy run here. Nico is holding that outside line and looking to get the advantage. William does have a bit of Willem does have a bit of damage onto the front of his car as well, so that's something to keep an eye out for. So Willem Bertha is starting to feel it as he pressurizes the back of Richard Herring at the moment. Richard going and touching the dirt, gets a bit of a snap and has to catch it, and that's allowed Bertha to just dive up on the inside, go for the pass, pull Devin Dalport next to him. Devin tries his best, dives up on the inside, really trying to stick it, goes for the pass, and really having a great time. But Devin just not having as much acceleration out of the corner as needed.
Yeah, it just shows you a little mistake there from Richard Herring can cost you almost 2 positions as they make their way through that tight little section. Awesome little final sector here at Okayama as we have a look at them now battling it out side by side down the front straight, but back to the front, having a look at Yuri Umpi Swart. He's still leading out the charge from the 2 other Durant Motorsport cars of Jason Coetzee and Byron Mitchell. They're coming up to the back markers. And Stephen, that's something I wanted to touch on. If you're gonna catch up to the back marker through that final tight section, and especially if you're in a tight battle, that might make life a little bit interesting.
It's gonna get very, very difficult for a lot of these drivers, because what you're gonna have to do is you're going to have to try and line yourself up just correct to get past without losing too much time. And this is what's incredible for the guys to go and really work on passing. And there's a bit of an art to getting past back markers, but at the same time being a back marker. You have to be comfortable with yourself. You got to be comfortable with the drivers around you and go and say, right, guys, let's work together in this. There is a bit of a rule at the moment as they've got 3 corners to let the faster cars go once they hit the blue flag. So once they're within about a second to under a second, they have 3 corners to release the cars. So for blue flags, they've got to be very cautious of this. That's where it's a little bit useful to come off the gas a little bit and just allow the guys to come through. And that's going to really change things up as they go onto the back of Herman Lazarus just ahead of them. But Reginald asking once again, is there any iRating or anything needed? No. You come in, have a bit of fun. Even to point out, Richard Herring is still in rookie class, but utilizing years of experience in sim racing, he's able to have that transition from Assetto Corsa Competizione and utilize it. A lot of these drivers are really showing off what they can do, but it's welcome whether you're new or old.
There's one requirement.
Don't bin it.
Not to have as heavy a left foot as on ACC.
Yes. Totally.
You will not stop.
The corners come up a little bit more exciting. That's something to do. But let's take a look. Yuri Umpiswat into first place at the moment. Jason Coetzee in second. Byron Mitchell in third, pushing Jason at the moment. Jan Fourie in fourth. Luc Lequesi in fifth. Sixth is Timothy Stanton, Paul Herber, Francois Joubert, Werner Swart, Christopher Simmons, Robin Teenings, Arno Kraus. Veynan Kursop has moved up into 13th position. Etienne Swart, Andrew Thomas, William Bertha down into 16th. He's actually lost 10 positions from the start. Doe Herber in 17th. 18th is Terry Alperman. Richard Herring in 19th. 20th, Nico Kellerman. Devin Dalport, Jean van Rensburg, Peter Joubert, Tristan de Norbrugge, Herman Lazarus, and rounding out the field who has retired the car is Duncan Murray.
So still 25 cars running as we have a look at Johan Fourie making his way around. He's still trying to catch up to Byron Mitchell and Jason Coetzee that has the 2 Durant Motorsport cars have got each other for company, but it's even at this stage pretty much running in formation, but Johan Fourie's not making an impact on them and a little bit further behind. Luc Lequesi, he's 3.5 seconds behind on his own in 5th place, as well as Timothy Stanton. He's also further back behind in 6th. I don't want to say no man's land, but they are just turning over the laps at this stage because they don't really have anybody battling with them hard at this stage.
Yeah, as Robbie Teening's trying to get past Christopher Simmons. Christopher, part of that THLF Esports, trying to go up on the inside and managing to do so. Just having enough rotation on the front. And these cars do stop dead if you get them correct. But the problem is they can kill the momentum. These are pure momentum-based cars. It's not about having a lead foot. It's how much cornering speed you can carry through it. And that's what makes them rather exciting to drive. And also rather interesting to go and push. We always talk about the Porsche Cup cars. We always talk about what they can do. I'm not a giant fan of them, but we can talk about what they do. As we see a bit of a change, Jason Coetzee, Byron Mitchell going and slugging it out, and that's allowing Fourie to close down on them, the two side by side. Now, we were talking about a bit of team antics here. I think teamwork has gone out the door, and a little bit of rubbing and racing happening between these two, locking down inside, outside, and Fourie just going and licking his lips, seeing these two go and slug it out. But this is something we don't get to see too often. Both you and I have raced against the Durant Motorsport team, and to see them actually fight it out is a bit of a rare occurrence, especially on iRacing. But it's good to see the guys, and I wonder if
look what it's done. Johan Fourie right on their back now.
Yeah.
So that closed the gap right up as they battle their way around there. So, yes, Stephen, sorry to interrupt. It is not something we see every day. The two Durant Motorsport cars side by side, a little bit of contact. They just continue. Maybe it's strategy. Maybe it's just strategy not to let Johan Fourie pass. But he's going to look on the inside, though, make it 3 wide. That's going to get interesting.
Oh, Jason Coetzee just got run off into the dirt by his mates, and Byron Mitchell trying to lock down that inside line. Johan Fourie coming back at him, and Luc Lequesi slowly closing down. But also take a look at Herman Lazarus. He's now joining the battle. Yes, he's a backmarker, but I mean, come on. This is some great racing that you want to get involved in, and, well, one to lick your chops for, especially considering you got third and second just ahead of you, and Jan Fourie, lying in fourth, needs to try and capitalize on and this is where it's getting tight. But right through the field, I mean, let's go. Francois Joubert, Paul Herber going and battling it out. Werner Swart trying to get onto the back of them as well. Werner Swart doing everything he can. Christopher Simmons has got Robbie Teenings in the background going after him. I mean, these are battles right through the field that the guys are pushing themselves more and more, trying to carry as much cornering speed as possible to really get ahead of one another and really try and get one up on the competition. This is what we love seeing, and it's why TCR can be a rather entertaining change compared to the usual GT3s that we go and see a lot of racing. Personally, I'm into the single-seaters and prototypes, but the little TCR car has got a special place in my heart, especially for what it can do.
Yeah, and you did 6 hours in one the other day, so nice little car. But Stephen, you spoke about it earlier on. It's way different than the GT3 cars. We spoke about, moving that brake bias to get the rotation of the car just correct. That's why we see the rear brakes glow more often than the front brakes, because a lot of the time that brake bias is set way back. We see the cars making their way around. We'll see those the rear. There we can see that actually looks like a flat. We got a flat tire.
Andrew Thomas. He's got
no boots,
no rear wing, and he's got himself into 14th place, but he's hanging on for dear life.
Maybe somebody should inform him he's got a flat tire. It's not going to last long, mate.
Etienne Swart, right, trying to chase him down. William Bertha going at him, but Andrew Thomas, I mean, let's talk about what we saw.
It looks like an oval car.
Well, race number 1, we saw a guy come across a line with 3 wheels on his car, and that was after he got the wall and managed to get himself going. But I mean, right behind Etienne Swart and Willem Bertha are going at one another tooth and nail at the moment. But Andrew Thomas, for what he's got at the moment, I don't know how he's keeping it on the road.
Well, you've driven an LMP2 on 3 wheels without even noticing it.
Don't worry, you noticed it.
It was the left front, wasn't it?
It was exciting, but I mean, these are something that do require a lot of work, a lot of rotation, and the guys are really having a bit of a battle. I mean, even further down, and I'm going to give it some love to the guys further down the field. Richard Herring, Devin Delport, John van Rensburg going up on the inside. John van Rensburg, who usually races a VW Sirocco, has changed over. He's gone to Iracing. He's now put himself in an Audi and having a huge amount of fun of it. Oh, it's close enough. It's built in the same country. But he's got Peter Joubert trying to chase him down. And, I mean, this is battles throughout the field. These are guys that are pushing the limits every single time they get out on the circuit. You can hear the turbos as they come off the power. And it's just absolutely phenomenal to see the stuff, and I can't wait to see how it's all going to end. We've only got 10 minutes left of this race, and at the moment Yuri Swart has opened up a bit of a gap to Byron Mitchell and Jason, who seem to have come to blows and sorted each other out, but Johan Fourie has closed the gap up now. He's trying to push a little bit harder. Luke Lucchesi he just sees them in the distance and he's trying to gain a little bit. Herman Lazarus utilizing the toe at this point. I mean, these are incredible stuff that we're seeing the guys really do. And proper side-by-side action as we see Paul Herber battling it out and Francois Joubert, who's not giving it up. Francois is having a huge amount of fun sliding the car around with that AlphaTauri paint job, and he's really pulling a bit of a Yuki Tsunoda at this moment of just sliding it around and hanging on for dear life. And you can be sure if there's any sort of discussion going on, he's telling the pit wall he knows exactly what he's doing. Leave him alone. So
you're just going full Japanese with a little Kimi Raikkonen at the end. I mean, that's AlphaTauri, Yuki Tsunoda in a Honda with a Kimi Raikkonen accent, something like that.
Well, Yuki Tsunoda went and told the guys to go, but take a look at Werner Swart. Now, he's joined into the back of this, and he's really on a bit of a charge. Now, to give you a bit of insight, Werner Swart actually goes and rides bikes. He loves riding bikes, jumping onto 4 wheels now And part of the backmarkers team is doing a fantastic job of keeping within the top 10 at the moment and really putting the pressure on. This is what we love to see, racing back and forth where it leaves you guessing what's going to come out from it. A little bit further back, you've got Christopher Simmons. He's got Robbie Teenings all over the back of him. Robbie Teenings trying to go onto that inside line. He's not able to make it stick, but is really going to keep up the pressure in this. And this is where it's just constantly having a fight. Peter Jabeur locking himself out on the outside. That allows Jean van Rensburg to come by. Richard Herring goes and falls off. But it does look
on the
like
inside, Richard Herring.
Richard Herring doing everything he can. But I know Richard Herring's actually using a sequential shifter.
So he's doing it properly.
He's taking his hand off the steering to go onto a sequential shifter to go and slam it through the gears. And this is what's... as we see a bit of contact between Robbie Teenings and Werner Swart. But, Christopher Simmons. But Robbie Teenings catching that slide. And I've got to give it up to Christopher and Robbie for that fantastic run there. Because that was a bit of an exciting one.
They're still not done.
No.
Round 2 coming up.
Very far from done. But let's actually go back and let's see if we can go onto the roll bar of Robbie Teenings, because I want to see the steering input as a little bit of collision. You can see going completely 90 degrees, trying to catch the fishtail. But it does look like Christopher tried closing that gap underneath him, but unfortunately a little too late. And Robbie Teenings going and swiping across the front. But this is what TCR car is. You can bang doors with one another, let's be honest here. And you can still come out with a fairly good race. It's easy to save these cars. I mean, this, you wouldn't attempt to go and knock doors in a GT3. Let's be honest.
No.
You're worrying about your aero that's going to get hurt. TCR cars' aero is pretty much...
What aero?
Well, it's like taping a piece of paper to a brick. It ain't going to do much. It will do something. But you're not quite sure.
Here's the interesting thing. The rear wing on these TCR cars, for those of you who don't know, normally I know we talk about the GT3 cars, we talk about downforce. On these TCR cars, you can actually set the rear wing up to go into the negative, to actually lift weight off the rear of the car in order to make the car handle better.
And that's because of the way the rear wings are designed, where it's got that overarch onto it.
It goes into the minus. Yeah.
So it does help it a little bit to go and lift a bit off the rear and try and concentrate. So you see Peter Jabeur going and battling it out with Devin Dalport. Devin just trying to lock down that inside line. The two of them really leaning on one another. But absolutely incredible stuff. But at the front is still Yuri Swart, Byron Mitchell in second place. Jason Couture, he's managed to break away from Jan Fourie just a tad by 0.8 of a second. Luke Lucchesi has started closing down the gap. Timothy Stanton up into 6th place. Francois Jabeur in 7th. Paul Herber in 8th. Werner Swart closing down onto the back of him. He's lying in 9th. 10th is Robbie Teenings with Christopher Simmons right behind him. Vernon Kersop. Getting my...
That one.
Yeah, that one. Vernon Kersop. He's going to get me for that one. Kersop going and battling it out. He was actually my teammate at one point, so I'm getting his surname wrong.
That's bad. That's just bad.
I'm going to get collared by the missus, I can tell you that. Arno Kraus chasing down in 13th. 14th is Andrew Thomas, William Bertha, Etienne Swart, Doe Herber in the KFC machine, followed by Terry Opperman chasing him down with a Pepsi. Nico Kellerman trying to catch up to the Pepsi and see if Coke is better than Pepsi.
Well, maybe Doe forgot the Pepsi. That's why he's chasing after him. I mean, that KFC delivery, at this stage, I think Doe is lost. He's just going around in circles, and the Pepsi's trying to catch up to him. Hey, sir, you forgot your Pepsi.
Now that's John van Rensburg going and battling out. He has got Peter Jabeur in the Pennzoil colours. Good to see the Pennzoil colours actually making a return. Quite a beautiful setup for it, especially here over in Japan. Devin Dalport, Richard Herring, Tristan de Norberger trying to close up the gap. He's lying in 24th position after the contact with Duncan Murray early on in the race. And Herman Lazarus in 25th, with 26th being the likes of Duncan Murray, who has retired the car, unfortunately. So
still 25 cars out there. I mean, and very close racing, Stephen. And there's less than 2 minutes left in this race. I mean, the guys are still, Terry Opperman, we're looking almost diving up on the inside there. There's still battles up and down the field. That's what I'm trying to get to.
What's your definition on dive? I think at this point he's just trying to stop it dead on the apex to try and force the likes of Nico to bail out. And I mean, this is where the racing's getting interesting. This is where I love to see more and more guys start transitioning over or go and broaden their horizons. We saw the likes of Christian Deploy early on, round number 1. He was out there at VIR, and that's Virginia International Raceway for anyone that doesn't know VIR. But made that transition. We do see a lot of the guys coming in, having fun, really duking it out. And I can't wait to see the field get bigger and better as it goes on. We into round number 3. Round 4 is closing up real fast. And the guys are going to be planning a what's next, how to make this exciting. I do think the TCR cars are going to be the staple car for everyone that wants to have a bit of fun. And we might see a bit more of the bigger cars coming in with a bit more open setups, the guys developing the cars, much like what we see in ACC on a weekly basis. We might see that starting to happen in iRacing as well. I mean, the future is open for these guys to really show off what they can do, and it's rather exciting to see these type of battles, the type of racing, and the camaraderie that's with everyone chatting is brilliant. I mean,
absolutely. And I actually want to put the challenge out. For the past 3 races we've seen between 25, 27 cars out on the grid. We'll have a look in 2 weeks' time what the last race of the championship bring. But I think, Stephen, we need to put the challenge out. By next season, we want to start seeing 40 cars on the grid, like we do in ACC on a Wednesday and a Thursday evening.
Which I do think is really possible.
Around Okayama, it's going to get interesting.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Another 15 cars on here.
Why
not?
It's going to be a ton of fun. And I've got to say, I really, really enjoy seeing the TCR cars really battle it out. But so far, with only a minute left of this 30-minute race, Yuri Swart up into first place, really showing off what Durant Motorsport can do. Locking down second is Byron Mitchell with Jason Couture chasing him down. Jan Ferree going and trying to close the gap. He is in fourth place. Luke Lucchesi doing everything he can. He's lying in fifth. Timothy Stanton, though, trying to catch up. But a little bit further behind is Franco Jabet. Paul Gerber, who has got Werner right behind him. Werner Swart doing everything he can to try and close down that gap, but is not getting the drive needed. Robbie Teenings in 10th. 11th is Christopher Simmons. 12th is Veynon Kursop, along with Arno Kraus, constantly hounding him at the moment, really hoping that Red Bull gives him wings at this point for the final little bit. And then we've got John van Rensburg. He's down in 20th, and he's battling out. This is turning into a battle. Peter Joubert, Devin Dalport, Terry Opperman, everyone's trying to have a bit of a battle. Oh, Terry, unfortunately, looks like he got a bit sideways, and slight contact was made as the two go and battle it out. But coming up to the line, will be taking the checkered flag, will be going to Yuri Umpi Swart for the next little bit. He has really done a fantastic job at this point to keep ahead of the guys. One corner to go. Byron Mitchell in the mirrors, Jason Couture in the mirrors, and it does look like Jan Ferree is trying to close down that gap, but he needs to get into the toe. He might look for a quick dive down the inside. I think he's a little bit too far away to make it happen, but it is going to be a bit of a climb for the guys to just try and battle it out. As we take a look, sorry, this is off into the tight part of the section. This is the middle of it, and I've got to say, been a really fun race to go and commentate on, see the guys really step it up in terms of what they can do.
And absolutely, this was an awesome race as we see Yuri Swart making his way around, Johan Ferree, the top three, the Durant Motorsport guys, Johan Ferree chasing them, but Yuri Umpi Swart's going to come around that last corner. He is going to take the checkered flag, win the race. What an awesome race. Second place, Byron Mitchell. Third place, Jason Couture, followed very closely by Johan Ferree. He just couldn't make it. So That's going to hurt his championship a little bit at the top of the table. We'll have to see when everything's updated what's going to happen there, Stephen. But awesome race on Okayama.
Luke Lucchesi taking 5th, Timothy Santon taking 6th place, followed by Francois Joubert. Paul Herber just keeping ahead of Werner Swart. Robbie Teenings making his way through. He's going to be keeping ahead of Christopher Simmons at the moment. Vanon Kursup trying to get a little bit more of a drive. Looks like he keeps ahead of Arno Kraus. Behind is Andrew J.S. Thomas. How he finished with no bonnet and a wing, I don't know. Then you have got Willem Bertha doing a fantastic job. Etienne Swart, Doe Herber, Nico Killerman going and finishing up in 18th. Jean van Rensburg battling it out with Peter Joubert across the line, just managing to keep ahead of it. Jean just keeping ahead of Peter Joubert. Terry Opperman making his way through. Good to see Terry Opperman. He put up a grand fight, but unfortunately, a little bit of a spin round did not do him any good, but he's done a fantastic job out there. Devin Delport in 22nd. 23rd, Richard Herring, followed by Tristan de Norberger and Herman Lazarus rounding out the field. My heavens.
This is touring car racing, and this is what you want to see out on track. I mean, Stephen, this race was for me, I would say, almost a perfect example of how TCR racing should be done.
Now, I have to agree on that one as we go through the race results. This is our, I would call it our non-official because of any incidents that may be done it, but this is our finishing positions as we've seen on stream. But I've just got to say, if this doesn't make you want to climb in a TCR car, I don't know what will. And to be honest, the last time I had a proper TCR race, it wasn't as exciting as this. And it does make me want to actually get behind the wheel. So,
Was 6 hours around Watkins Glen not long enough?
No. It wasn't to the absolute finish. But what a race it has been, and we're actually looking forward to seeing if we can get a couple of the guys to come and have a chat to us in the interview room. We're going to see if we can ask a couple of questions, especially for the guys that are very, very interested in this debut round, Season 1 of the RaceFace iRacing TCR Championship. And, gentlemen, I mean, give us a bit of your thoughts into what we just watched. 30 minutes of just brutal action.
Well, that's exactly that, Stephen. I mean, this 30 minutes, it felt like 10 minutes. I mean, when you said the race is almost over, I thought, well, hang on a minute. Is the clock wrong? I mean, I see there's 10 minutes left of the race, but it feels like we're on lap 2 or 3 because the point I'm getting to, it's just non-stop action, start to finish. There's no backing down. There's no stage, which we see in the longer races sometimes with the GT3s, where the race goes through that phase where nothing really is happening because you're waiting for pit stops to play out and that kind of thing. You ain't got anything of that here. It's just non-stop action, start to finish. And it's awesome to watch. I love it. It's really, the cars are not as quick as the GT3s, but it does not mean that the racing is not as good.
No, I've got to say, I like the different formats that we have in RaceFace, where we've got the strategy formats, and then we've got this type of format where it's just brutal, quick action that really, the adrenaline just is right on it. And by the time the adrenaline wears off, you've actually crossed the line. You've had a great race. It is just exciting from start to finish. I mean, these are just incredible stuff. So, we're actually going to bring one of the drivers through to come have a chat to us. And welcome to the commentary box. Please introduce yourself to the crowd out there and just give us a bit of thoughts on what that race was. It was just amazing.
How's it, Stephen? Yeah, it was quite fun. I mean, yeah, me and Byron actually had a quite fun side-by-side moment. But yeah, I mean, it was super fun. I think, yeah, it's an awesome league. Really enjoyed the race. So yeah, thanks to you guys.
So, I mean, Jason, you had a a very interesting race where if usually we see you guys running in more of a formation, this time you took the gloves off. It was as a proper battle. What was the thought process to that, or was it just let's see who's quicker?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the case, but otherwise, yeah, it was just super fun racing side by side. I mean, these TCR cars have always provided with good racing, so yeah, I mean, it was super fun. I mean, it's something different compared to the normal GTE series, but yeah, I mean, not much more to say. It's super fun.
It's just adrenaline packed the whole way, from what I can see. If you just go and put all the good stuff of motorsport into a cup blended, I think this is what the action comes out to. Yanaman, you have any questions for Jason Katsu?
Jason, first of all, well done on the race. But the one thing we noticed was that in the chat we had one or two of the ACC guys, standing up and take notice. Obviously, RaceFace does iRacing, ACC, F1, dirt, and that type of thing. But we all race a lot of GT3 cars as well as they do on ACC. What makes these TCR cars so different and so much fun to drive, even though they are a lot slower than the GT3 cars?
To be honest, I think it's just there's more to it. So like whenever you racing close and whatnot, you can stay there. Like I think that's basically it. And I mean, you can just race super close. It's not like the cars will just freak out with the traction control. Yeah, that's what I've found, that it's quite different to the other cars, and obviously you just drive it completely different because the front wheel drive is completely different, and not many people, you don't always drive it as an everyday thing. So I think it makes it quite fun because not everyone does 5 million laps for an upcoming race, or however you treat it. I mean, this car you can basically just jump in and then it's pretty easy to drive compared to a GTE car or GT3 car.
It's absolutely incredible. And locking down third place is no easy feat. It did look like Ferrari was giving you a bit of a run for the money. Both you and Byron, while you were having your bit of fun there, Ferrari was closing up on you guys and started hustling you towards the end. Was there any concern of him trying to get round you, or was it just focus on the race at hand?
I think towards the end it was basically just for the leader. I mean, Yuri was very fast. Byron was very fast. I think Umpi had a bit of more of an edge over us. I don't think much of us did much practice, but yeah, towards the end it was just maintain towards the end and finish the race.
It's absolutely fantastic. Well, Jason, thank you very much for joining us. It's nice to have a chat to you. Not too often that we get to have a chat voice to voice, hopefully face to face at some point. But in closing, from your side, you're allowed to challenge anyone. You're allowed to go and thank anyone. Just all safe for work, so no swearing. But the mic is yours to say what you feel.
Yeah, I just want to thank the supporters out there, everyone who was cheering there on the grandstands. I know there was a Troy Dolanchek there on the grandstands. I want to thank you for cheering. Yeah, everyone watching. Yeah, and obviously to you guys for the awesome stream.
Thank you very much. Hopefully it's good, but I know you're gonna rewatch the stuff. There's quite a bit of action there. Thank you very much, Jason. Glad to have you in the commentary box, and we'll see you next time for round number 4 coming up in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
Well, not often we get to have a chat to him, but the man, the myth, the legend came out and really showed off what he can do. But talking about what's coming up, Yanaman, we have got the RaceFace GT3 Sprint Series round number 8 tomorrow, Wednesday, 21st of June. It is the final round around the new circuit of Valencia, which is going and having people wondering what's going to happen, what's going to work, and who's going to come out on top for the championship.
Yeah, this is going to be the first official race, I think, that a lot of these guys are doing on Valencia. I know that a lot of guys have been doing a lot of practice because it is a new track, is a bit of an unknown. I've seen the guys chatting a lot. They're trying to get the practice in. Interesting track. Stephen, there's a lot of tight or a lot of technical sections on there. We need to try and straighten the car out very quickly in order to get your braking right. So I think it's going to be interesting stuff tomorrow night when these guys start duking it out. The championship is kind of said and done, but it doesn't mean that the racing is done by any means.
Well, that's it. We know what first place looked like, but everywhere down is a little bit different. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification icon for tomorrow. Come join us for the RaceFace GT3 Sprint Series, round number 8. And coming up on Thursday, we do have the Grid Championship brought to you by RaceFace and Medal State. The final round, also around Valencia, 22nd of June, Thursday, with that prize pool of 10,000 Rand. The team championship wide open between Hybrid Academy, Genesis, and the likes of Evolved Racing. Everything has gone into a proper no-holds-bar, and the drivers are going to have to roll up their sleeves, lay it all out on the circuit, and once the dust has settled, once the checkered flag has come down, it is going to be exciting to crown a champion for Season 3 of the Grid Championship, brought to you by Medal State and RaceFace, with a possibility of, we've got a Season 4 maybe coming up in the works with Medal State for the Grid Championship. Here at RaceFace, we are extremely excited for that. But with all the thrills, the spills, the drama, it all comes to a close this Thursday.
Yeah, really looking forward to that one, Stephen. This is the big one, the last one. And as you said or mentioned earlier on, I think it's going to be a no-holds-barred fight between the big teams. They're going to take it to that line. All of them want to get their hands on that championship, on that team championship. So looking forward to Thursday night. It's going to be a big one.
That is not to be missed. And coming up also on Tuesday, 4th of July, make sure you make a note of it. RaceFace Iracing TCR Championship final round as we head to Alton Park. Oh, don't say that too loud. We might have a Cameron de Bastos not enjoying us for that one. Sorry, Cameron, but we're going back to Alton Park for it. Alton Park, going to be a very interesting circuit. Does suit the cars in terms of being a TCR circuit. We saw GT3s tiptoe around it, but the TCRs are really going to battle it out. I'm looking forward to it, and it will be the final round of the championship. So we're looking forward to crowning our champion on the 4th of July. So make sure you are there for the end of the debut season, Season 1 of the iRacing TCR Championship here at RaceFace. And mind is blown with it.
I'm sitting here thinking to myself, you mentioned one or two of the ACC guys that did not enjoy Alton Park that much with the GT3s. I think they need to come and watch this race in 2 weeks' time and see how the TCRs do it. It's going to be a totally different race to the GT3s. This is going to be some close, proper racing around that track.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this evening. My name is Stephen Koenig, the world's fastest backmarker, and big thank you to Janneman Press, the world's slowest alien, and we look forward to seeing you next time, tomorrow evening, for the RaceFace GT3 Sprint Series finale. Have a good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.